Hi, Dr. Caroline. Thank you so much. I'm so honored that you are being a participant for being a speaker for this WIN conferences. Firstly, this is Melinda Roy. I'm the host of this WIN conferences for the 2 days event WYN Women Summit. Uh, so assembling all powerful, wonderful ladies on one stage. So I'm so excited to see all the presentations of all the beautiful women here. And today is the special occasion, Happy Women's International Day. So when I'm talking, I'm getting goosebumps. I I really want to. So I can see there's so many women over here with powerful presentations on this special occasion. So we welcome you for this WIN conferences. So before you start the session. So I will play a beautiful introduction video of yours. So later you can start your session. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yes. So yes, Carlin. So now you can start your presentation. Have a good luck.
Thank you. Let's just make sure I can share my screen. Here we go. Technology and I sometimes don't always mesh. Can everybody see my screen? Awesome. Okay. Everyone can see it? Perfect. So today we're going to be talking about how to prioritize your mind, body, and soul without burning yourself out, because this was me about 6 years ago. I had hit complete burnout, and that wasn't the first time I hit burnout. And I'm really going to just take you through a little journey quickly so you can see where I'm coming from as well. And then we'll dive into the material. But this is something that really impacted me. I've always been such a hard worker, always trying to get every acclimate I could, achieving the highest degrees I could, just even with cheerleading, soccer, all the things I did in my childhood. But I realized I had a cycle of burnout, and that's something that is absolutely possible, of being able to reduce burnout. And I'll take you through what I did that hopefully can help everybody and really empower you to take those steps to really prioritize you. So for me, it started to become overwhelming in college. I'll start there. I was working full time. Basically, I had 3 different jobs. I was working at Starbucks, know how to make a great coffee order. And I was also working at a gymnastics gym. I coached little boys and girls in gymnastics, as well as I cheered for my university in college. We were a competitive cheerleading team. In addition to that, I would take about 6 classes a semester. So I was able to graduate college a year early, but I was always on the go. I managed time very well, but I was always burnt out. Fast forward, once I got into my master's degree, I was still working full time while going to school full time. And I started to practice as well. I was practicing therapy at the time. And fast forward through that, I started to lose a lot of weight. I'm a very petite person, but I dwindled down to about 89 pounds. And I started to see my hair fall out from stress. It was chronic stress, is what I thought, but it was really burnt out. I was so burnt out. because I wasn't prioritizing what I was telling my clients. It was kind of this ripple effect of practicing what I preach, but I wasn't practicing it. So I really had to understand and identify ways to protect my own mind, body, and soul without continuing to burn myself out. Because as soon as I left the psychology field, I ended up moving into coaching, and I absolutely love coaching. And I realized I was doing the same exact thing. So these tools and techniques are what I use to help me, and hopefully will be able to help all of you, because that is what it's all about. So, what we're going to be talking about today is work life integration. I don't fully believe in balance. I don't think you always have a 50-50 balance with work and life, but how we can really integrate the two together to be able to really see that harmonize with your life versus it's that or that. But being able to do that with everything you have going on, because I'm sure there's so many empowering women here today, really finding tools from all the great speakers that you've heard either in person or virtually as well. And then moving into self-love, how we really can embody that every day, creating boundaries, what healthy, unhealthy looks like, and how to really implement them and solidify them. And then we're going to move into emotional balance within our relationships. So, really about communication, how we can do that with the people around us, our or anybody that works for us, really being able to create that harmony within our relationships and ways to avoid burnout. So, who am I? I'm Dr. Carolina Spitz. I have my PsyD in psychology with a specialization in marriage and family therapy. Like I mentioned earlier, I did love practicing therapy. My youngest client was 4, my oldest was about 65, and everything in between. But I really loved working with couples because you get to see the dynamic of what's unfolding. And that's where that emotional balance within our relationships comes, because I think it's so important when we are who we surround ourselves with can really impact our overall well-being. And I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have a solar energy company that I'm a co-owner of. I have a YouTube channel, so I'm a YouTube creator. I also coach female entrepreneurs, and I have an online business in addition to all of that. So we're going to talk about how I manage all of that, and hopefully it can be helpful for you too. So work-life integration, it's really about understanding time management. Means people can manage their time, but how do you really do that effectively? So the first thing is having a to-do list. Some people love them, some people don't. I'm definitely a list person. I think it's really important to be able to see it. I'm a visual person. Some people are, some people aren't. But for me, it's writing a to-do list. And I've seen this work with a lot of my clients as well, knowing what you need to get done and prioritizing that in the evening. So in the morning, you know exactly what you have going on, and it just keeps you focused. So your brain's not thinking of the million things you need to do. At least you know what you need to get done, which moves into I always focus on the top most 3 important things that need to get done that day. So for me, I always make sure I'm doing something for my businesses, whether it's all of them or just one of them, something for my health, making sure I have my health, because if you don't have your health, you can't run these Fortune 500 companies and all these other amazing things you're doing in life if you aren't focusing on your health, because you won't be able to show up the way you want to. In addition to that, my relationships. So am I sending a text to a friend? Am I connecting with my fiance? Am I calling my mom or any family member? So really focusing on what are your most important things that you need to get done every single day and prioritizing that. In addition to that, it's really important. I always say this, and I've heard it from so many. Oh, can you hear me? Okay. I hear it from so many different people of just understanding totally lost my train of thought. But the most important things is understanding too, doing the hard things in the morning. So you already have that done. You don't have to worry about it later in the evening when you're exhausted already. But if you get the really hard things done in the morning, it just frees up your headspace too, and being able to work on other projects, or understanding too where your creativity is. I know there's so many entrepreneurs listening and just empowering individuals, but how are you in the mornings? Is that your prime time for creativity or filming, if you're doing videos or lives or anything like that? Or is it in the evening? You know, some of my friends that are entrepreneurs, they're night owls. I'm the morning person. I like to get it done in the morning, and then I know it's done. But finding where your energy is best exerted. And then in addition to time management, outsource. What can you outsource? I know some people don't like cooking. Maybe you can outsource to a delivery service that has your groceries done for you, like HelloFresh or Home Chef. I know it's different in different parts of the country and the world as well, but how can you litigate that and allow it to, or delegate it, in order to really free up your time so you can focus on the things that are result producing for your business, for your company, for your family, and understanding where that time is going. So those are the really main things with time management. I'm sure everyone's heard that before, but really take inventory of where your time's going. Maybe sit down and write it and see exactly where maybe things can shift or improve, where it's going to be more conducive to you and your lifestyle. And again, what are you prioritizing? It's so important to set limits of knowing where your energy needs to go and where it doesn't need to go, and stop overcommitting. A lot of times I'm guilty of this. I don't know if anyone else is guilty. If you are, please write in the chat because I don't know if I'm alone. But overcommitting, just continuing to pile things up onto your plate, it can be so taxing and overwhelming if you just keep saying yes to things when in return, you're really saying no to yourself. If you were working on a project or you wanted to do something, but you stopped everything to fill something else that really maybe doesn't need your attention at that moment. So really just, again, taking inventory of where your time and energy is going, and work smarter, not harder. Easier said than done, but if you're managing your time, you're focusing on the things that are hard in the morning, setting limits and not overcommitting, it's going to make it so much easier and more clear of where your energy is going if you're working smarter and not harder. And learning to harmonize versus balance. Like I mentioned earlier, I don't fully believe in balance. I used to say it all the time, but as I've grown and different responsibilities have come my way, I realized it is never a perfect balance. Sometimes it's going to be 70-30, just like in our relationships, even like 80-20 or 40-60, but looking at where you can harmonize your life. So maybe you're taking one of your kids to soccer practice and you have to run an errand on the way there, or maybe you do drop shipping. So you drop it off at FedEx or any posting and then be able to go where you need to go for your child. But it's really understanding too how to really integrate it all into your life so it makes it more seamless and not as taxing or feeling like you're carrying the weight of the world on your shoulders. So self-love is the second aspect that I really focus on and I think is so important in my journey as well, because this is a really hard one. This is like the meat of really being able to prioritize you, and it's putting yourself first. It's so easy to give. I feel like everyone probably listening has the biggest heart in the world, but it's so hard sometimes to put ourselves first. And this is something I struggled with and my clients struggle with, but it's gathering knowledge, like understanding who you are, what do you like, what you don't like, and your core values of what's important to you. When we start to identify that, it allows us to really understand too what's underneath everything. After you've created the integration with work and life, it gives you a little bit more headspace to think about, okay, well, who am I? How am I putting myself first? How is my cup overflowing to others? I know it's all over social media, articles, everything you can think of when it comes to putting yourself first, but it's really looking at what is important to you on a deeper level as well. And a lot of times with self-love, what I have found is being able to forgive yourself. A lot of times we come across mistakes, we make mistakes, and it can really be taxing. I've made mistakes in my life where it's debilitated me, and I've focused on all the negative and focused on, well, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this, or I should be doing this. And I always say we should on ourselves and look at like, what are the lessons from those mistakes? What have you learned? How can you take that knowledge and apply it elsewhere, help somebody else? And that's what I've been able to do with self-love too, and helping others learn how to navigate that, because it can be so taxing and you just feel it. You feel like whether it's other mental health wise, depression, anxiety, other factors, but realizing too, those mistakes, there's so many beautiful lessons in there, and how much other people need to hear that they're not alone in that regard as well, or they've made the same mistakes and not feel embarrassed or shamed around it. And so the next piece of that, once you've been able to really forgive yourself, you can have more self-compassion. Like, what is it to be loving towards yourself? What does that look like? how do you show up when you're loving yourself? How do the people around you receive you as well when you're loving yourself? What is that energy like? And being kind to yourself. Are you beating yourself up? Are you self-sabotaging? Are you doubting yourself? That can really impact how we're showing up for ourselves, but also for everybody else around us. And focusing more in depth of self-love, it's what are you eating? What foods light you up, make you feel good inside? It's about the feeling good. My dissertation for psychology was all about the mind-body connection through mindful eating and really understanding, and it was for kids, it was a school-based program, but really understanding how food made us feel, what gave us energy, what made us feel like, okay, I can go on a walk after, or I just felt sluggish after, but just really be able to notice those things. Because I think when we're really aware of our surroundings and what we're putting in our body, whether it's food, thoughts, the environment, all of that plays such a huge part of our daily lives. Gratitude, being able to have a gratitude journal or anything along those lines. I talked about having your top 3 things that are most important to you throughout the day, getting those done in the morning, but even like understanding too, when we have gratitude, it's so hard to be negative. I don't know if anyone's tried that, but it can be really difficult in order to take a step back and realize what you're grateful for. And different things every day. I try to do at least 3 different things right in the morning when I wake up. What am I grateful for? I'm grateful for, I was just in Florida and now I'm back home in Colorado, but I was grateful for the sun and the warmth because it's been so cold here. Definitely a Florida girl through and through, but being grateful for the weather, being grateful for my home, being grateful for all the things, being grateful to be able to speak today. And then in addition to just being able to have gratitude, it's connecting with nature. And that's something, there's so many studies and research around it. Just being able to be outside for 5 minutes, having the sun touch your face, or just having the wind, fresh air can really impact just how we're feeling on a day-to-day basis. Journaling, another thing. A lot of people are like, well, I don't know what to write. Just write. Pen to paper, sometimes the magic works in that, but just being able to release whatever's on your mind. And I think too, because we hold so much in sometimes, and being able to release that can really help us formulate too what's going on for us, or just releasing it. Movement. A lot of people say, well, I don't like to exercise. Well, you don't have to exercise, but just move. Being able to move around, have a dance party in the morning, or have a dance party before you have to get on a call. Just even getting ready, making your coffee, your tea, anything along those lines. Yoga. I love like hot yoga. That's my sanity. But being able to find something that works for you, whether it's walking, stretching, just moving your body can really help your overall mental health. In addition to that, what is your self-care routine? What fills your soul? Is it connection? Is it exercise? Organizing? Maybe that relaxes you. Sometimes it stresses people out, but it's reading, writing, nature, whatever it is. But find out what is healthy for you, what feels good for you, and what's best for you. In addition to all of that, like I spoke about gratitude, but also meditation. There's apps like Insight Timer, Calm app. I love the Calm app, and so many other. Headspace is another one. Or you can use YouTube for guided meditations to really pour into yourself. It doesn't have to be so grandiose. It can just be a few minutes a day. And I know I work with a lot of moms too, and they're like, I don't have time for that. Well, maybe it's just taking a few deep breaths in that moment. And it seems so like easy and simple, but it also can help significantly if you're able to breathe in, hold it for a few seconds, then breathe out, and allowing yourself that space for just a few seconds, whatever works for you, because everybody's different and everyone's coming from a different place and has different responsibilities, but finding what is enough for you. And then also enough sleep is another huge one, because if you aren't sleeping, that's the number one health aspect. It improves your mood, it improves everything. If we just have a little bit more sleep. I know sometimes sleep can kind of go out the window when we're working on a big project or we have something coming up in an event, but really making sure that you're getting enough sleep every single day. And boundaries. This is my favorite. So when do you need to set a boundary? Sometimes we don't know we need to set a boundary until it's already been crossed. So it's really understanding too what is healthy for you. So when it comes to what's healthy for you, understanding too, it's just knowing what is healthy. You feel good when you're setting that boundary. You understand what it is. Unhealthy, you feel uncomfortable. It's not always you feel it after the fact, and it just feels like you might be taken advantage of or just not being understood or heard or invalidated for what you said. So it's really understanding what is healthy and not healthy for you. Like, what does that feel like? Because when we tune in with those feelings, it makes it a lot easier to understand, okay, this is uncomfortable. So what do you do once you're uncomfortable? It's being able to set the boundary first. Be very clear and concise. Tone is everything. This is something that I had struggled with for years because I would just take on more. The people pleaser in me was like, yes, of course I'll do it. But when we set that boundary and we're really firm with it, we're allowed to say that, and it's not always received, especially if you've never really set boundaries with people before. It makes it so much harder for people to adjust to that. It takes time. My family, friends had to adjust to me setting very firm boundaries, but that's the first step. But then it's implementing that boundary, and it's sometimes the hardest to set boundaries with ourselves versus everybody else, whether it's like going to the gym or eating healthier, doing certain things. We kind of put ourselves back on the bottom of the priority list when we need to be at the top. So implementing those boundaries, it's that follow through, the follow through. Once you follow through with it, people will respect that too and honor it because you're honoring it and you're respecting it. And solidifying those boundaries, once you've already set that ground of this is how it is, it makes it easier to continue to do that. And you've already built the bottom layers of having the work-life integration, having more self-love and compassion towards yourself to really respect this is what I need and this is how it's going to go. And you can be very kind about it. It's coming from a loving place. A lot of times there's misconceptions that a boundary is not, it's like you're being mean or rude or cruel. And the reality is you're just saying what you need to because you're protecting and honoring what you need in that moment, and you are prioritizing yourself and saying no and honoring it. No is a complete sentence. It's a quote. It's not my quote, but it is true. You only have to say no. When there's pushback, the only time there's ever really major pushback is when someone's not respecting your boundary. But the people who love you and care about you and want to see you do what you're doing, they will respect it. And it's hardest with family sometimes, especially if they have you in one way, they know you in one way, and being able to move that forward. And then moving into emotional balance within our relationships. What are you prioritizing? How are you prioritizing the time management and communication? Being very clear. A lot of times, communication, I think, I don't know if the study is right, it's like 80 to 90% is nonverbal. So a lot of times it's really hard if you're on the phone or on like a Zoom call or a presentation, you can't really see those nonverbals. But being able to really clearly communicate with people around you, especially on the entrepreneurial journey, or just even running a business or running a company or just being in a work environment, being able to clearly communicate what you need, because it is so hard. It's a roller coaster being an entrepreneur, if anyone can agree with me. That's what I think. I'm sure others might agree, but really being able to understand too, when we are communicating effectively, it allows for direct communication. Because so many things get misconstrued, or if it's through a text or an email, you're not getting the full story sometimes, whether it's the tone, how somebody's presenting it, because it could be a period versus an exclamation mark in a text or an email when it's not meant to be harmful or anything along those lines. So I think it's really significant when we're able to communicate directly and not beat around the bush. And I think everyone here probably already has that down, but if you don't, really understanding too how important it is, especially with those closest to us, our significant others, family, because if you are not expressing like, hey, I need 5 minutes to finish this project, or I need to go on a walk, being able to communicate that versus getting upset or frustrated with that person when it has nothing to do with them and displacing that emotion and frustration. But that's a really important aspect of just being able to communicate clearly and effectively. And it takes practice. A lot of times, especially even with setting boundaries, practicing in the mirror, writing it down, getting all your thoughts out. Because if you're dealing with somebody who's extremely challenging, that can be very difficult. But if you're able to write it down first, get it out of your head so you can show up powerfully and stand your ground and know this is important. And this is, I'm honoring and respecting myself because I deserve that. And everyone deserves that. And ways to avoid burnout, it's reframe your mindset. How can you approach it differently? Maybe it's been the same cycle, but if you keep doing the same thing over and over again, that's insanity, right? So it's being able to understand too, how can you shift what's happening? Maybe you can't change the environment you're in, but you can change how you approach it. Make time for self-care, understand how important that is. Whatever your routine is, it can be a few minutes a day. It doesn't need to be a weekend getaway and then you're recharged. Like sometimes it's just those daily little things. Maybe it's having a cup of coffee or tea in the morning by yourself when no one's up yet, or just being able to do a meditation, but find that time, rest, don't quit. Because when you're able to rest, it's allowing you to recharge, and it takes time. Like there's a study, I think it's 3 to 6 months it takes to really overcome and recharge after you've hit burnout. And it's really self-acceptance, accepting where you're at right now. It's temporary. The feelings are temporary, but what can you do today to take one step further? And ask for help, delegate, really look at your support system. Who's there? Who's in your corner? That's going to be really beneficial for you to reach out to and feel safe, whether it's therapy, whether it's a support group, whether it's somebody in your circle, but really understanding how valuable and vulnerable and strong you are by asking for help, because a lot of times it can be really difficult, but it's one of the most powerful things when you do it. And maintain your social life. Connect with the people that make you feel good, that are there to really see you thrive. And of course, set boundaries. That's the number one thing, because the more times you set boundaries, the more practice you put in with that. If you haven't set boundaries or it's a challenge for you, it really will help solidify too. Okay, this is a no for me. I'm saying no to them so I can say yes to myself. And that will really help you when you are setting those boundaries. And just, again, it's respecting yourself, the empowering individual that you are. You deserve it and you matter. And so that is it for today. I kind of went through that really quick, but thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions that I can answer? Do you want to put them in the chat? I'd be happy to. If not, I think I'm right on time.
It was really a terrific presentation, Dr. Carolyn, and I want to say you that you are looking so gorgeous.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. So on this special occasion, yes. So from your speech, I understood that you are running 3 jobs. So it's not an easy thing as a woman to do houseworks as a wife, as well as a woman. You need to there will be a lot of stress, right? So you need to take care of house, you need to take care of the office work. So 3 jobs is not easy. So how you will manage to overcome this stress? Because one job, it's really hectic. So it's 3 jobs. So please let me know the tips for all the women.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's been a struggle, I'm not going to lie, and I'm planning a wedding on top of it. So it's been a lot, but I think it really goes back to I prioritize. I wake up maybe a little bit earlier so I can go to yoga in the morning, start my day strong, my mindset, my body, every aspect of me. And that's what like kind of sets that tone. But I have a supportive partner, I have a supportive circle around me, and we really work together. And I think that's the biggest aspect. I really am focused on my time. Where does it go every day? Like I mentioned, I have my priorities. Okay, what needs to get done tomorrow? So I hit the ground running full force, but I also have a lot of downtime too. And I think it's non-negotiables, focusing on what are your non-negotiables every day and like what needs to get done today. Because I can't think of 6 months from now of what needs to get done. But being able to like, of course you have your goals, but I focus on backwards, like what needs to get done every single day to get to that 6 months. Because if I keep focusing on 6 months from now, I would probably stress myself out. But I focus on my timelines of, okay, I have like 15 minutes to send all these emails. And then, okay, I have my solar company. I'm meeting with these customers today. So, and then for my YouTube channel, okay, Saturdays all day is just like filming, editing, everything. So I break it into sections so it allows me to stay focused on what needs to get done. But I think that's the biggest thing. It's hard. It's not easy, but I think it's if you are focused and you know what the end goal is, it makes it a lot easier to see clearly what the priorities are. And sometimes there's a lot of sacrifice, but it's worth it in the end if you want it.
So proud of you. Thank you so much that you have shared your presentation with WIN conferences. So the biggest asset is do you have a supporting partner? So yes. So you can achieve anything. So yes, there will be so much of hard work, but we cannot see, but only the success which comes out, only that we can see. The hard work, how much you do, we cannot see that, right? So thank you so much, so for sharing your presentation. Gorgeous, you are looking so gorgeous, and have a wonderful day today. And once again, happy Women's International Day. So bye bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you. So let's jump into the another session. So if you want to so this is a physical event, so which is going to happen in Paris. So if you want to join the physical event presentations, so we have shared the Zoom link in the LS sessions in the announcement. So just click on the link and you can join the physical event as well.